The following is a presentation of the Northeast Florida Regional Council and the Northeast Florida Local Emergency Planning Committee for Hazardous Materials.
The objective of this exercise today was to give the regional teams the opportunity to work together at a large hazardous material release incident. Working with CSX, we were able to do a train derailment with multiple cars leaking product to afford all teams to be able to engage in the hot zone and provide leak control and mitigation to resolve that issue.
CSX is a railroad transportation company. We operate in the eastern 23 U.S. states. We have about 25,000 employees and are responsible for the shipment of lots of rail freight, including hazardous materials, for our customers.
The Northeast Florida Regional Council is a regional council of governments that we represent 7 counties in Northeast Florida and 27 municipalities. The Local Emergency Planning Committee is one of those programs that are housed in regional councils statewide. CSX provided us an opportunity and said these are the things that we can provide as a resource to help improve your capabilities.
We have 3 regional teams that were here: Jacksonville Fire Department, Clay County Fire Rescue, and St. John's County Fire Rescue. They are specialized in what they do related to hazardous materials. By state rule, they have completed 160 hours of vigorous training and are certified by the State Fire Marshal's Office as hazardous material technicians. Hazards they were up against were ethanol, liquid ethanol, diesel out of the locomotive that was leaking, and then we had standard commodities of chlorine gas and liquid propane gas in tank cars.
The safety train is a tool that we have that we can use to train first responders and how to safely respond to a railroad emergency. Safety is very important to CSX. We train on safety continuously for our own employees as well as our contractors, consultants, and first responders. The first responders in the communities that CSX operates in are very valuable to us. The first responders will get notified immediately of any emergency and will respond for anything from a crossing accident to a train derailment.
Rescuing any victims is going to be the first phase of our operations. So they sent teams downrange, and the recon team is to rescue any victims, which they did, identify product, which they did, and set up a perimeter, which they did. So they pretty much accomplished all that they had set out to do.
Always life safety comes first, and once they identified there was somebody down, they went and rapidly removed him and got him decontaminated.
For initial entry for recon, we're going to set up what we call a gross decon, and it is consisting of just water, scrubbing down with brushes, soap, and just a quick decontamination of products off of an individual if we were to rescue them.
They were making that effort to stop a liquid valve that was partially open on the ethanol car. And yes, that is very challenging. The other car was a molten sulfur car. They were challenged to go up on top of the tank car and replace a flangeable disc that had burst. Each department uses its own ladders. Rail cars, after a derailment, you can't guarantee that those ladders on those cars are going to be safe, and we surely don't want to have someone get hurt in training or in a real incident, and that's why we try and practice how we would perform at a real incident.
Acknowledge. Okay, you're helping us? I am right now. That gentleman up there needs cable cutters.
The plastic suits, which are level 8 protective suits used on the chlorine tank car, because of the toxicity of the chlorine, it would damage the metals that are exposed on the self-contained breathing apparatus and provide protection for their whole body as a vapor suit.
It's challenging. You're talking about heat stresses, limited visibility, being inside of your level A protection. They're just big and bulky. You have dexterity issues because usually you have 2, if not 3 layers of gloves on to protect you from cuts and chemicals and so on and so forth. It's a difficult challenge. At times you're talking about you're securing a single nut or a single screw or a single bolt while in this level A protection, so it can be cumbersome.
What we practiced today was identifying chemical threats, researching those chemical threats, and being able to provide notification back to those agencies that would be providing the community so that they're able to communicate effectively to the public on what the threats are or how they can best protect themselves if something like this happens.
We'd like to do more of these where we can get all the teams together to kind of intermingle. We've tried to rotate these exercises on each shift. Some of the strengths were set the brakes on the car. I think that was Clay set the brake on the car immediately and they closed the bottom valve. St. John's, they metered the area, found LELs, notified command of the readiness, applied a foam blanket to the fuel spill to suppress vapors.
Technology, the computers. There was a problem with the computers, but he came up with a quick workaround. He went back to Old Faithful, which is the books.
All of your evaluations, all of the comments received from the evaluators, those are going to be generated into an after-action report that will highlight the strengths in those areas that we need to address to either improve through training, resources, those types of things.
I think overall everybody got to learn a little better working together with each of the departments that were here. I think that the incident command process worked well.
We did identify a lot of strengths. We did identify a lot of weaknesses, as we always do. There's always room for improvement, and that's why we train, so that we learn what we can improve and what doesn't really work too well in the training scenario and not in the real life incident.
It's great to see large-scale simulated incident, having multiple agencies come together, finding out that communications does work and we can do this together, so that you know you can rely on those partners should an unfortunate incident happen in your local area.
Just speaking for myself, it was a large incident that I've never dealt with, being in the role that I'm in. So it was very educational for me. There's a lot of things that I still need to learn that I'll learn till the day that I retire. We don't have the opportunity to work on trains like this. Having CSX bring their train down here was definitely a benefit for everyone to get their hands on doing that stuff.
It helps to familiarize the first responders with the types of scenarios to expect when they get a phone call saying that they have to respond to a railroad incident. And it also helps to get to know them in our local communities so that when we do all respond together, if we have to, that we can work as a team.
The overall response, we completed it. Everything was mitigated within 3.5 hours. But we clearly identified some things pertaining to operations and coordination that we can improve upon to expedite and make that more efficient next time.
I think to be on a specialty team, it takes a dedicated individual to go that extra mile to get that training. Thankfully, we have a very good track record of accidents and injuries among our HazMat responders, but there's always that threat. Things can go wrong. We can have rapid releases of chemicals, and that's why they wear the protective clothing they wear, so they can go home safely after they're done with the call.